Wow, everyone. I apologize. Is everyone back over here? I apologize. I just want to wait till everyone gets back here on the live stream. I apologize. We had a reboot. How many people are over here? How many people were on the, okay, good. We had so many people on the other, so we literally had to switch computers, and I apologize. You guys back? You guys are back? Wow. Unbelievable. Look at that. It's rebooting. So I had to use this device. So the studio, we're like in a transition phase right now in our studio. Um, and we're having to kind of go old school and use different way of going live. So I apologize. So, all right, we're getting a couple hundred people here joining us. Come on back in. Come on back in. We're going to talk about single families versus multifamilies. Which ones should you buy, bearing in mind that I own both? Now, when I talk about multifamilies, I want to be clear, and we'll get into this when we start the show here in a second. I just want to get everyone back on here, have a chance for them to jump off the other stream and jump over to the new stream, I hope. Good. You guys are so great. So come on back in here. Yeah, we had a couple hundred people here, so now we only have 50. So I want to get everyone back in before I start. I don't want to, sorry about that. So I just want to say before we get started, on the multifamily front, when I'm talking multifamilies, what I'm talking about is 10 units, 20 unit apartment complexes. I'm not really talking about duplexes, okay? I'm not really talking about triplexes and fourplexes because those are still considered residential. I'm talking commercial versus residential. Commercial, then, of course, is anything over 4 units, right? So what I'm talking about is smaller potatoes, right? Duplexes, single families, triplexes even, and quads. In my mind, those still kind of sit as single families, if that makes sense. So I just wanted to put that out there, and I'll reiterate that again once we get started. So Luis Peralta, no, I don't have any properties in California. No. Luis, I would say 20K. I would say probably a single family or maybe even a duplex. I think 20K could probably get you into a duplex. It just depends how much down. But again, I would book a call with our team. We've got a bunch of brand new construction duplexes that we're doing as well right now at our company, Morris Invest. So if you want to book a call with our team, go ahead. Go to morrisinvest.com. We've got a bit of a waiting list, not too much, but we do have a little bit of a waiting list right now. So just get on our call list, and then what we'd like to do is really take you through a series of phone calls to get to know you, to understand what your goals are with investing. To us, it's not just about the house, right? We want to work with you long-term. So book a call with our team today. Fully renovated house from the ground up, or fully brand new built house from the ground up with a tenant already in place with a property management team. Those are the properties that we do at our company. So book a call with us if you're interested. All right, we are back. Marlon, great to see all of you guys. Again, I just want to wait another minute. I apologize for that crash. We had a software crash, so if you're just joining us, thank you so much. And thanks you for subscribing to the channel. Also, by the way, I mentioned that this version of the live stream right now will only be available to you later on if you want to watch the replay. It's not going to be public. The only way to get it is to join our newsletter, and we'll email you the link later tonight. We don't make these public afterwards anymore. So the question and answer session at the end, we'll open it up for Q&A for everyone. After I do a few minutes here, I'm going to talk about 6 different points that I want to get through, and then we'll email you later tonight. So join our newsletter. Just go to morrisinvest.com/newsletter, sign up, and we'll send you a link. We don't spam you at all. We send you good real estate investing content. Charlie wants to know Cleveland. I don't have any experience in Cleveland. Welcome, everyone. Okay. I'll let everyone kind of trickle in here. Sorry about that. All right, we're back. Praying that we don't have another issue here, I hope. I hope we are good to go. Just gonna plug this bad boy in. Okay. That's awesome, Don. Way to go. You got 87. Well, now book a call with our team, Don. That would be my next step. We'll get you a property. That would be my next step. Okay. Shall we get started? Crypto Chick wants to know, love what you're doing. Can you tell us what your fees are for buying a property via Morris Invest Services? There's no fee. You're just buying the house. You know, our profit is in the house, you know, baked into the profit of the house, of the sale of the house. So there's not like any ongoing fee. You're paying management. You're going to pay the management company, of course. But that's it. You own the property. You can turn around and sell it tomorrow if you want. I know some other companies do, like they'll have a 10% per month fee and that kind of stuff. I don't do that. We don't do that. Well, Monty, you know, just book a call with us. Again, I think that's the best thing to do. And we can look at what your situation is and what kind of properties are available. And then, you know, how much you have to work with and what are your long-term goals. So again, to us, it's not really about the property. To us, it's helping you build long-term wealth so that you could work with us for many years, get 5, 6, 7 properties over the course of 5, 6, 7 years, you know? So we want to work with you and we look at your unique situation. So there's not a one-size-fits-all approach. I want you to understand that. All right. Okay, let's get started, everyone, shall we? Let's do it. So, okay. All right, let's get started. Let's do it. Sorry about the delays, everyone. Love you guys. Love you guys. Remember, this is a positive environment. Positive environment. Sarah, great to see you. Welcome, everyone. Okay, let's do it. Single families versus multifamilies. That is the great debate for real estate investing. That's what we're going to talk about on today's show. Let's dive into it. Hey everyone, I'm Clayton Morris, longtime real estate investor. I've done thousands of real estate deals. I own both single families and multifamilies, and we're going to have the great debate. This is the question I probably get more than any other here on the channel. Should I buy a single? Should I invest in multifamilies? You know, there's 2 camps usually. So I'm going to go through 6 different reasons why I like one maybe a lot more than the other. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Please hit the subscribe button if you'd be so kind. This is the channel where we really try to help you build financial intelligence. These are the things that you were not taught in school growing up. How to build financial intelligence and then ultimately financial freedom. But it has to start with being financially intelligent first. It's not just about the house. We're going to go buy a house. We're going to go buy this investment. No, we need to understand the why, and we need to start there before we can move on to what house you're going to buy. So that's what we're going to talk about on today's show, single family versus multifamily. Now, this debate rages because people are passionate on either side of this camp as to where they decide to put their money. I'm going to go through these 6 points today on where I put most of my money and why I believe one is really strong versus the other. Now, I want to say right here out of the beginning, out of the gate, as we're doing today's show, when I think of single families, what I'm really saying is residential properties, okay? And what I mean by residential properties is single families, yes, that's like one house, duplexes, triplexes, and even quads, but mostly singles and duplexes. Those are still residential properties. Now, when you get into 5 units and you go up, then you're looking at commercial property. So that's really what I'm saying today is commercial properties, you know, 5 units, 10 units, 20 units, 100-unit apartment complexes versus duplexes, single families, smaller, right? So we'll have a frame of reference for this discussion. So number one, the reason why I love the smaller unit properties, single families, duplexes, and so forth, number one is because they're easier to find. When you are looking for multifamilies, 10 units, 20 units, I'll talk to commercial real estate investors who, and I've had them on our show, they'll maybe do 1 deal per year. And for them, that's fine, right? That's all they really need to do that 100-unit apartment complex per year. Whereas it's much harder to find it. They'll make multiple offers, 30 offers, 50 offers, using different brokers to find commercial properties. With single families, they're all over the place. With duplexes, are not as plentiful as single families, but you can find single families, duplexes all over the place. In fact, at our company, we're actually building duplexes now from the ground up. And I own a bunch of duplexes and I love them. I have about 10 duplexes in my portfolio and they're fantastic. Single families also easier to find. So just by finding properties, it's much easier to find single families. There's way more opportunity in this space to actually locate and find single families than it is multifamilies. I mean, show of hands, how many of you watching right now have really wanted to get into the multifamily space and you've just like, I don't know where to turn to find these deals. You're going on like a broker's website. You're typically going to be dealing with a real estate broker of commercial properties, and it's going to be incredibly difficult. It's very, it's contentious, right? And there's a lot of people going after it, going after those larger commercial deals. So number one on my list is it's easier to find. Drive around your neighborhood. You probably are going to find a distressed single family house in your neighborhood that needs work. It's maybe been sitting there. The grass is a little too high. Check out my video on how to find some of the cheap properties. You might want to check that video out because we show you how to find cheap off-market properties in this year. And just driving around your neighborhood, I bet you're going to be able to find a distressed single-family house. And I kind of walk you through in that video how then to go out and find the owner of that property and try to make a deal. Number two on my list, why I like single families, duplexes, triplexes, and quads more than the larger multifamilies is because motivated sellers are easier to find and they're different than the more institutional investors. What do I mean? Well, when you own a single family house or a duplex, chances are you are a typical homeowner that owns this particular property. And you maybe let the property run down and you just need to get out from under it. Or maybe it's an inherited property from a family member and you don't know what to do with it, so you want to get rid of it. There are motivated sellers for single family homes, just entirely different than if you've got someone that owns a 100-unit apartment complex. What do I mean? Think about this for a second. If you come across someone that owns a 100-unit apartment complex, is that just a random homeowner? Of course not. That's going to be a seasoned investor. So it's much more difficult to make deals with an investor who's seasoned, who understands the whole process, than it is for a retiring, tired landlord who owns a particular property. If you follow me in this logic, a tired landlord who has a 100-unit apartment complex has been through it, understands the game, and is not going to be as willing to take a low ball offer on that property. And that's what we find when we find a distressed property in your neighborhood that needs a lot of work. You're going to be making a low ball offer. So I know that when we go out and acquire properties, I'm making really low ball offers because I know that it needs $20,000, $30,000 worth of work. And I'm going for those types of properties. With a larger 100-unit, 200-unit apartment complex, that's an investor. Do you think that they're going to take your lowball offer? No, they're going to have their number and they're going to stick to it with their broker. And chances are you're going to have to be paying top dollar. Right now, multifamilies are trading at a really low cap rate. And so it's very difficult. We've had Ken McElroy on the show, one of the great multifamily investors. He's written the book, The ABCs of Real Estate Investing, and he is a multifamily investor. He says he sees right now the best value is in the single family home space and smaller properties, duplexes and triplexes. He said absolutely the larger multifamilies, he said, I see people selling them for like a 3% return on investment. That means that they're barely breaking even. So that's because that investor who's selling that property knows the value of that property and they're not going to take a lowball offer. So again, I'm just saying you're dealing with different types of motivated sellers when you've got single family, duplexes, those types of owners, and you've got the larger institutional investors who have 50 units, 100 units. You're not going to have that negotiation go as easily as you might think. Number 3 on my list is that when you buy, like I do, single families, duplexes, you need fewer partners. Think about this. If you're going to buy a $30 million apartment complex, are you going to be able to do it by yourself? Probably not. You're going to have to raise money. You're going to have to go out there, take a bit of a road show and try to raise that capital. And obviously now you can get a percentage of that because you brought them the deal. There's ways to do that, of course. And Michael Blank has a great course on multifamily investing, but it's very difficult. So you're gonna have to be raising a ton of money and you're gonna have to rely on a lot of other people in order to make this happen. So then what percentage of the deal are you in? You don't own 100% of that. You're not gonna own 100% of that apartment complex. You're gonna own a portion of it. Now maybe you set up an LLC with 15 other partners or 10 other partners in order to buy that property. So you're gonna have to put some things into place, raise a lot of money, and put some partnership agreements together. To me, it's very advanced. But again, when you buy single families, you're buying a duplex, you can simply make a down payment, finance it with a local bank, and you're into your first rental property. Refinance, rinse, and repeat, right? You can fix up that property, pull that money back out of it again in an infinite return, and roll it into your next property. So again, another reason why I love those smaller properties, the single families, the duplexes, triplexes, and quads. Number 4 on my list is the headaches are fewer. Without a doubt, the headaches are fewer. John Schaub wrote a great book on becoming a millionaire. I think One House at a Time, I believe was the name of the book. I forget the exact title, forgive me. But he talks about it, he's done it all, like I have. He's owned all kinds of large multifamilies and single families and duplexes. And he loves the single families and duplexes model because it's fewer headaches. And I absolutely know this to be true. Just listen to multifamily investors talk about the amount of things they have to fix on a regular basis. Now, if you've got a 100-unit apartment complex, you're gonna have to have staff that lives in the building probably, right? A maintenance person that's there that lives in the building. You have to pay the front desk staff. You're gonna have to a whole bunch of other things that are involved in your investment with a larger multifamily property. Single families though, different ball game, right? Fewer moving parts, the types of properties that I like to do, 1,000 square feet, no garage door openers, garbage disposals. I don't have to worry about all those moving pieces. So fewer headaches. And when you have those smaller properties, you have more space typically. Larger rooms, people tend to stay longer, which leads me to number 5 on my list, which is vacancies. There are just fewer vacancies in single family, duplexes, triplexes, and quads, especially if you get the larger bedrooms, which I like to do. So I find like with duplexes, the ones I like to look at, have larger space so that families can stay longer. I like to replicate those spaces of a single family. If you've got your own yard and your own driveway, I have way fewer vacancies. And I will say that when you're looking at the multifamily space, you're going to see vacancies upwards of like 20%. When the vacancies I look at, I hope to be below 5% vacancies on any of my single families, duplexes, and so forth, because people tend to stay longer. Just think about it, the mentality of living in a 100-unit apartment complex. It's more transient. They're probably there for a year if you're lucky. You're going to always have tenant turnover. You're going to be constantly doing tenant turnover on that larger unit, constantly. And on a single family, I've had leases where I have 5-year leases on some of my properties because tenants like the neighborhood, they like the school district, they have like the yard where their dog can run around, and so they tend to stay much, much longer in those properties. So you're reducing your vacancy rate by investing in residential single family duplexes, triplexes, and quads. And number 6 on my list is the returns are much higher. Because you have less tenant turnover, because you're able to get in and get greater value with lowball offers, and renovate these properties at a level that it provides you with a higher cash on cash return, you're gonna see a much higher return. Bottom line, again, listen to Ken McElroy, listen to other high-end real estate investors who invest only in commercial properties. They are saying right now, this year, 2019 and beyond, the number one value they're seeing in this space is single families, duplexes, residential real estate in the affordable housing space. The returns are significantly higher than you're seeing on these commercial properties, on commercial real estate. And I'm talking about rental properties where people live. We can get into owning malls and shopping centers and all of that stuff, right? But I'm talking about single families or places where people are actually living and staying a long time. So you're gonna see higher returns. I mean, look, where do you spend the most money? Tenant turnovers, okay? When you have a vacancy on the property, now you have to go back into that unit and change the carpet out, get it all cleaned up, maybe paint, fix holes in the walls, etc. That's where you end up having your highest costs. So if you can reduce that by having people stay a long time, you get that just by, by proxy, by living in these particular properties, these single families, duplexes, and so forth. So those are my 6 points. I want you to check out this video. We've got a great video, which is a behind the scenes of one of our rental property investing renovations. So it's a behind the scenes of a duplex that we renovated recently. Walk you through step by step. It shows you how ugly it is at the beginning. But you got to check out this video. And it's a 4-part series we're putting together so you can see how we took it from ugly to fully rented and now cash flowing. I think each unit is now cash flowing like $1,100 in this property. So check that out. And also be sure to subscribe to the channel if you are new here. We'll see you next time, everyone. All right, it's time for questions and answers. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. And I hope we got into a great debate here about single families versus multifamilies. So we got a lot of great questions coming in here. So, okay, first up, fire your questions at me. Let's keep it on topic today about single families, multifamilies. I know, like I said, I think of multifamilies really as anything more than 5 units. That's really when we enter the commercial space. So there you go. Jim wants to know, would assume security deposit from previous tenant would pay for damages? You would assume, yes, right, if there's tenant damage. But tenant wear and tear, like carpet just being used, is not necessarily tenant damage. Like, you go into that apartment and it's like, a little funky, That's not tenant damage, it's tenant living in property. Good question. Jim says, do you take security deposits? You as a person should not be holding security deposits unless you have a property management company that you own. Security deposit should not be commingled with your own money. That's illegal. You want to make sure that a property management company is holding that in an escrow account. You do not want to commingle people's money with yours. Dre says, I'm in a single family and I want to purchase a duplex or triplex. What's my best route? You're in a single family and you want to buy what to live in? Do you want to live in it or you just want to buy it for an investment? Can you clarify that, Dre? Which would you prefer? Well, Don, like I said, I own a bunch of duplexes and I love them. My suggestion on them is to, and I like single families. So I like single families and duplexes are my favorites. Those two. And, I would say book a call with our team because our team is doing some fantastic new construction of duplexes right now. And we have a waiting list for them. Be fully built from the ground up with a tenant placed in the property. So book a call with our team at Morris Invest and we'll take care of you if you're interested. Like I said, we have a little bit of a waiting list, so get on that waiting list. As an investment, Dre wants to know, as an investment, would you get into a double duplex? Well, again, you can book a call with us. We'll take care of you. Again, I think it's the same approach. Like, you can also watch our video on how to find cheap houses. The thing with people want to know, like, well, why would I want to work with your company as opposed to going out and finding properties myself and doing all the work myself? Well, you can. You can go out, find properties, hire contractors, make sure that the ROI makes sense, make sure the contractors won't rip you off, all of those pieces. Find your property management teams, find tenants for the properties, or we could take care of that for you. That's what we do. But I would say you could watch our video on how to find cheap houses. That's a great video. That'll kind of walk you through how to, maybe even in your backyard, go out and try to find deals. Go on Craigslist in the for sale by owner section and try to find some, if you can find some in your backyard if you want, if it makes sense, if the numbers make sense. I would say I only invest in areas where the return on investment makes sense, where it's landlord friendly. So, I'm in New Jersey right now, and I own some properties in New Jersey, but I own them in an area where, like, I probably wouldn't do it again. The taxes are lower in the area that I invested in, but again, it's an onerous state. Like, New Jersey is not a landlord-friendly state. To get a tenant out of a property requires, you know, a lot of hoops and hurdles. It's just more regulation in this state. That's why people are leaving New Jersey like crazy. You know, we used to do a segment when I used to work in TV where showing what states people are leaving. People are leaving California in droves. And people are leaving New York and New Jersey in droves. New York may be the worst for landlord friendly. So, you know, I invest in states where they're landlord friendly. I'm talking Tennessee, Texas, Michigan. Those are some of my favorite. Let's see. Fatima says, I want to buy a fourplex in Louisiana, live on one side, and rent out the other three. City of LA. Oh, Los Angeles? Are you talking about Los Angeles or Louisiana? City of LA, of 0% rate and 90K assistant to buy a single family home. What's your advice? I'm not sure. Okay, in Los Angeles. I mean, again, it comes down to the numbers. It comes down to the numbers. Please watch the video that I have here on the channel about understanding, you know, return on investment. You know, if you book a call with our team, I know James from our team is watching right now in the chat here. Go to morrisinvest.com and book a call with our team, and we can then we can talk with you about these things a little bit more deeply. Like, where are your finances right now? You know, can we connect you with this bank that can help you get financing for the rest? These properties, really understanding your goals. So Jason, again, yeah, we've got a bunch of different ones. So book a call with us and we can go over that with you. Yeah, Don is right. Los Angeles has no return on investment. I mean, look, California is just really difficult. I'm sorry. That's why, you know, anybody who tells you that you only should invest 30 minutes from where you live is wrong, is flat out wrong. Ask any intelligent investor where they invest, and they'll tell you they invest where the return on investment is highest, where they can get the best bang for their buck, the highest cash on cash return. You know, my story started that way. When I started as a real estate investor, I was on an airline flight and I was sitting next to two investors. They were husband and wife. They were in their 50s and they were getting to spend 2 months at this destination where we were going. And they told me, I said, how do you get to go there for 2 months? And he said, oh, I'm a real estate investor. And I said, well, where do you invest? He said, well, my partner and I, we buy properties here, here, and here in the Midwest and here and here. He said, we don't fall in love with real estate. We fall in love with, you know, job growth, lower crime, consistent American-based jobs, return on investment. And that's exactly where I buy and do. Well, that's what Morris Invest does today in those areas. So the idea that you should only invest in your backyard if the ROI is terrible makes no sense. It's not financially intelligent. You might feel more comfortable because you can drive by your property and wave to it every so often, but I don't ever see my properties. I have property managers that take care of it. But yes, it's very important that you nurture your portfolio. You sometimes need to manage your managers, and that's fine. You know, that's business. But I'm going to tell you right now that if you live in New Jersey or you live outside of New York City, driving 30 minutes, you're going to be in a high tax state, not landlord friendly, and it's not a smart area unless you can find like a quadplex or something where the return on investment makes sense for you. Some good questions here. Now, the Flyboy Way says, I'm in Jersey and familiar with the area. Brought my last home for 135. I put 100 into it. Okay, so you bought it for 135,000. You put 130. You put 100,000 into it. Now you're into it for 235,000. It appraised at 350. That's a great deal. Right now, I don't know what the numbers are. I don't know if it's a single family. Is that a multifamily, Flyboy? I'd love to hear. Is that a single family, multifamily? I think in New Jersey, the play is going to be multifamily, you know, but you need the capital, right? So here's what Flyboy put in. He put 135 into it. It's a duplex, 1,500 duplex. Okay, so let's run those numbers, right? Let's have some fun here. Let me grab my trusty calculator. Oh, thank you so much, Arthur, for the super chat. Arthur, thank you so much. Looking to invest, but I don't understand why your team gives away properties. Your company buys and grows your portfolio. Look, that's our business, right? So if I owned a car wash, you know, I wouldn't just wash my own cars, right? So I try to keep as many as I can. I just bought 2 properties last week or 2 weeks ago. So I'm constantly trying to add to my portfolio intelligently. But I also try to teach you here on the channel that when is enough enough? You know, I've achieved financial freedom. So I'm looking at my portfolio of 50, 60 properties and I'm kind of analyzing, okay, is there one that maybe now has appreciated really nicely? Maybe I can either do a refinance as an infinite return, pull that money back out of it, roll it into a 1031 exchange and sell it off and buy 3 more because of that. You know, you want to be constantly analyzing that portfolio. But, you know, it all comes down to capital. I have to run a company, right? And I have employees and I have great staff. So yes, you're right. I absolutely could try to keep every property myself, but I wouldn't do that to you. So Arthur, I hope that makes sense. Okay, let me do some numbers here. I want to go back to the Flyboys question. Okay, you got this duplex, $1,500. We got the little calculator here. So $1,500, is that per side, Flyboy? $1,500 per side or total for the whole duplex? And thank you, Arthur, for the super chat. I appreciate it. By the way, we donate that money. So anyone wants to do a super chat and support this channel, thank you so much. I hope I'm bringing you value. Okay, I want to get Flyboy because I think this will be a fun lesson for everyone. I want to find out from Flyboy. No, cash flow is $1,500. First floor is $1,700. Rent. Okay. All right. So $1,500. Let's just say $1,500. So here's how we're going to figure out his ROI here. So 1,500 times 12. We're looking at, he's making $18,000 a year. Is that net? That's gross, right? That's gross. I think. Oh, and he's got a mortgage in here too. Okay, he's got a mortgage of $1,800. Right. All right, so a little bit more complicated for this, but let's just play with that for a little bit. I'm going to multiply that times 0.6. Okay, so the net. All right, so your net then. Okay, total growth, that helps me. All right, 3,300 is your gross. Let's do it that way. Times 12, we got 39,000 a year gross. Times 0.6, 23,000. Now we're gonna take that 23,000 a year and we're gonna divide that by the all-in cost of the property, which he spent 100. He also bought it for 135. So divide that by 235. That's a 10% return, roughly. So there you go. Good stuff. So 10% return. That's really, really great. I think a 10% return, and then of course, I mean that's where we would hope to be on a duplex like that in New Jersey. So now here's the question, right? So you've got, now it's appraised for 350,000. You're in it for 235. Oh, you only put 35 into it. You have a mortgage on it. To me, I mean, I would absolutely do a refinance on that, right? I'd pull my money back out on that bad boy right now with a bank. Then that's how you create an infinite return. Have you thought about doing that? Is that what you're planning on doing? So going to a local bank, now you'll pull that whole 35 that you put into it, pull that back out of it because now it's appraised for 350. Right? And then roll that into your next investment. So you're taking that extra cash and rolling that in. Or, now I wouldn't give up that property to save my life. I would keep that property forever. That's a great property. So good for you, man. Good. Right, Pierre, so you're asking, don't we have to add some maintenance, insurance, et cetera, to the 1,500 left? Yeah, of course, what we're always trying to do is we want to take out, take out 40% for vacancy, repairs, expenses. You could go as high as 50. Some people go as low as 20%, but I like to take out 40%. That's a good rule of thumb. Any other questions? Yeah, I mean, that's a great deal. Again, you got to go out and hunt and find that kind of a deal. I know how it's hard to find. Um, Patrick, book a call with us, and we'll gladly do that. I don't have any in front of me at the moment, but you can watch our video again. Um, in fact, I've got a couple of videos that maybe we can drop here in the chat if Kelly wants to. I can show you my first property that I ever purchased in Michigan, um, in Detroit, and I love it. Still a fantastic cash flowing machine for me. And also the behind the scenes of a renovation that we just did as well. A 4-part series. I think part 4 isn't up yet. We're working on that. Just has some editing to do. But you get to see the first 3 parts of our behind the scenes of a renovation project. It was a ton of fun. And this was a duplex that we renovated that needed a lot of work. It was pretty ugly. We put all new siding on it, updated the roof, inside cabinets, flooring, kitchen, the whole thing, whole 9 yards. No, Drew wants to know, are there any constraints on how many homes an investor can purchase through my company, Morris Invest, at one time? Is there capacity to purchase many, or will it be a process over time Again, we want to talk with you. So when you book a call with us, we want to get to know you and see what your goals are. I can throw out numbers and be like, here's a house, want to buy it? And we don't operate that way. So we really want to develop a long-term relationship with people. That's our goal. But we ended up, one of our buyers this week, he just bought 6 properties with us. I think he closed on Tuesday after Memorial Day. So we had a buyer a week ago, I think bought 10 with us, or through us. So yeah, absolutely. And then we had another, buyer this week just bought 1. So yes, we can have, that's the thing. We want to work with you and really develop a relationship to figure out, okay, hey, by June, Drew, you'll be ready, because we can then work with your self-directed IRA. We can buy this 1 property using that. We can also then finance the rest with this. It's really customized for each person. So there's not a one size fits all. I'll see some other companies will just blast out emails with properties. And that's not what we do. That's not what we do, because then what are you getting? What are you buying with that, right? So we don't do it that way. I think we like to try to do it in a real fantastic way. That's my goal. Michael wants to know, can you recommend a mortgage origination company that will finance a quadplex with 5% down? All the ones I talk to will only do up to an owner-occupied triplex without going into commercial. I think, Matthew, it really just depends on the state. Yeah, I think, because not every mortgage company is national. It just depends. I know, I like Flagstar. They've been great. We've done a couple of refinances with Flagstar Bank. I think they're located in Michigan, but they do a lot of states that we do our properties in. Check them out. Why don't you also check out Church Hill Mortgage? Dan Kraus at Church Hill Mortgage. He's a friend. He can do, I think Dan can do up to 15 different states. Try that. Yeah, remember, when you're dealing with 1 to 4 units, you're talking residential. Anything over that, then you're going into commercial loan territory. You bet, Matthew. Good luck to you. Bob, how can I find a property manager that I trust? And do you generally pay 10% of gross monthly rent plus whatever additional work they do for my properties? Yes. Look, property management is a thankless job. It's hard. It's hard work. And so, typically 8 to 12% is pretty typical for property management. If you're doing larger multis, you can really go up to even higher than that, 20%. Depends. If you've got an in-house property manager that's there dealing with that. Brian wants to know, what do I think about multifamily in college towns? Look, I think if you can get a duplex, triplex in a college town, that's what we're doing right now in a college town. That's unbelievable. Okay, I'm just going to tell you right now, the duplexes that we're doing in one of our college towns at Morris Invest is off the charts fantastic. And the beauty of this, we didn't really get into this whole strategy, but the beauty of investing and doing new construction, which is one of the things we're doing with some of our duplexes in a college town, is that you can do immediate cost segregation of that property. So you can accelerate that depreciation much more quickly. So then you're able to save a boatload of money because you're able to accelerate on your taxes. And that's one of the things that our team will help you with and explain. So college towns, duplexes in a college town, yes. You just got to do it properly. And I'm telling you, we've got a waiting list in one of our towns right now for property management for tenants in the properties. Like they're waiting. As soon as they're done being built, they're in. Sarah, yeah, I think we have that. I think maybe Kelly can drop that link in here for you, I hope. You guys are great. So I don't want to take up much more of your time. Tony, I'll answer your question here. Tony says, Morris, speaking of property management, someone wants to sell their company that has 43 properties. Could that be a good way to get into real estate investing? Unconventional for sure. Tony, absolutely. So this is an opportunity for you to work with that property manager and say, hey, will you carry a note on this? Will you carry paper? So will they do owner financing for you? And if they're an investor, they'll understand the value of not selling all 43 properties at one time because of the massive capital gains that they'll end up paying. So unless they're going to roll it into a 1031 exchange and they're going to roll it into other investments. But it might be an opportunity, especially if they're a tired landlord, to say, hey, look, John, I know you're 80 years old. You've been in this game a long time. You want to sell your 43 properties. Would you consider carrying a 30-year note on these properties? I'll put 5% down, 10% down, and you carry that back. If they're a smart investor, they will do this because that means they can spread that pain out over multiple years for capital gains. They don't have to just sell all 43 properties at once and then get hit with that tax bill. It's a huge tax bill. So if you're a smart investor and you know how to approach it, then you could really be, and if they don't understand what that is, but if they've got 43 properties and they've been in real estate, they're going to know how to carry paper, carry a note. So they'll just set up a promissory note to you, and you'll borrow and then, if you don't pay them, they'll foreclose on those properties and take them back over again. That's the way I would do it. They will do owner financing. They want to retire. It's a property management thing. Yeah, jump on it if you can. And I would contact like a hard money lender. Maybe you could go to Lima One or a company like that. There's a bunch of those different sort of private institutional lenders like that. DLP, Direct Lending Partners, I think. So you can find some of those, they're basically a hedge fund. They're not really a bank. And they'll lend to you on it. They'll look at each property and they'll do it as a portfolio. I would jump on that if you can. You're going to obviously have to have some skin in the game. So you have to look at what your 20% or 25% down would be, unless you can also get some financing for that. Yeah, and again, it comes down to the deals, right? That sounds enticing, sounds sexy, right, Tony? Until you start analyzing the numbers. So I would say maybe think about getting it under contract, and then you're gonna want to get inspections. So what'll happen is if you work with an institutional lender like a Lima One or something, they're going to do inspections on every property. Then they're going to do an appraisal on every property, 43 of them. So, you want to kind of streamline that, and then you're going to pay for those as well. So think about that and how you approach it, and just shop around for some of these different lenders. Thank you, Lindsay. You're so sweet. Awesome, guys. So again, if you want a replay of today's show, simply go to our website, go to morrisinvest.com/newsletter, and we'll send you an email. So just sign up. We won't spam you. We never spam you. We'll send you an email tonight when the replay is available, and you can watch the replay of today's live stream. This will not be made public. So any of the question and answer, any of the pre-show, any of that stuff, none of this will be made public. So this is the only time you get to see it, by hanging out here live with us, which we do every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. I love you guys. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. I'm losing my voice. Allergies and pollen, and I've been talking too much. So much love to you guys. I love you guys bringing the positivity here. Thanks for all the thumbs up. Thanks for all the positive and kindness. And if you're not a subscriber here on the channel, please hit the subscribe button if you're new here. Thank you guys. Love you guys. We'll see you next time.